Hi, it's Will from StormTheCastle.com, and here on YouTube you know me as Epic Fantasy, and this is my latest video. This is a Medieval America video, and in this installment, which is episode 19, we visit the great state of Michigan. And I only put one dot on the board, but we're actually going to do several stops. I think I spent 5 or 6 days in Michigan total. We're going to stop at a castle, a writer's castle, that's 100 years old. We're going to be stopping in a Bavarian town in the north of Michigan. And we're going to be stopping in Detroit to see the Detroit Institute of Arts. And one particular project that I really like is something called a perspective box. Okay, so driving through Michigan,
Welcome to Michigan.
it struck me as very New England in its temperament, the type of terrain and landscape and highways and everything. And although it isn't New England, it just reminded me of that. And I would imagine being up north the way they are and being on the lakes probably gets very cold in winter and they probably get a lot of snow. But our first stop here in Michigan is going to be in Detroit, which is Motor City. I think it's also called Motown, or Motown might be part of Motor City. But I enjoyed Detroit. It's a mix of old and new. It's a big metropolis, and they get a lot of old buildings, like of course, like you see here on the left. And I'm not sure what building that is, but our goal here in Detroit is to visit the Detroit Institute of Arts. It's very famous, very well known, and very prestigious. And they have a lot of wonderful stuff there, including this thinker sculpture by Rodin out front, which is nice. And they had when I went, they had a Star Wars thing going on. Although I didn't go visit it. But here's a look at the foyer inside. Isn't that beautiful old building? Probably from the late 1800s. Although I haven't verified that fact. But they have a wonderful collection of Van Goghs, which is I love. I mean, Van Gogh's my favorite painter. I love Van Gogh. And they also have a very vibrant collection of medieval and Renaissance stuff. So that was a real treat for me to see all of this. And not just, paintings and whatnot, but also weapons and armor. So if you're into it, you might want to check out the Detroit Institute of Arts. If you're within driving range to go visit the stuff, check out their website. And they've also have a display, and I think it might be a permanent display of the Dutch Golden Age. But one thing that I did strike me as for this museum is very unpresupposing, because you'll be walking around and you'll discover things that are not on pedestals, like this ceiling piece. They don't make a big deal out of it, so you got to really look around and just kind of these beautiful little stained glass windows in windows without a whole lot of fanfare. It's just you kind of discover these beautiful works of art just randomly, and I really like that. I think there's a certain thing to that. It's less pompous. And well, the big thing here is this perspective box, this Dutch perspective box from the Dutch Golden Age. And when you look at the box with it open, everything looks kind of distorted. But when you look through, put the front on, and you look through the people, everything comes into perspective correctly. And that's kind of cool. And I may be doing this in something like this in a project. Let me know. Leave a comment. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you want me to make a perspective box. So next we move on to Ossawa, Michigan, to a place called Curwood Castle. And I really enjoyed this little castle. It's just a small castle, but it's a real castle. And James Curwood was a writer, and around the 1900s, 1920s. And he was a very famous and popular writer. He sold millions of copies of his books. He was like a worldwide celebrity. And now we forget all about him. He kind of fell off the map. He passed away at an early age. I think he was in his 30s. But he was very popular in his time. And he wrote a series of a lot of stuff about adventuring in the wilderness. And his books were very popular. And many, many movies way back when were made from his books. So that's how he made his money in writing, and he built this castle to be his writer's castle. And see, there's a couple of movies that were made from his books, and it's like early movies, like John Wayne movies and stuff like that. James Oliver Curwood's, and there's one that's a little more recent, The Bear, that's based on James Oliver's Curwood's work. But there's his writing room in one of the towers with his desk and his typewriter, and there's the little river behind it. So I love this castle. I love the story. It was built in 1922, the castle, and just wonderful. It was a great day I had. They were having a fair there, and there were a lot of writers there selling the books, which was kind of cool. So next we go further north into a place called Frankenmuth, Michigan, and it was a German settlement that was begun in 1845. I think it was 15 Germans settled there, and they maintained their roots all throughout, and they still do. Some people still speak the language. They have various German festivals, and while I visited that weekend, there was a Bavarian festival going on, which was kind of neat. And for me, it had special meaning because I actually, in my life, my real life, I actually lived in Germany for a couple of years. So it was very nostalgic for me to go back, and the food and the bratwurst and the music, the outfits people were wearing lederhosen, and the structure of the buildings, which I really love. See, that building's beautiful. So that's Frankenmuth, Michigan. If you like this kind of thing, check them out. See if they get some kind of a festival going on, and go visit them. In this picture, I'm pretty sure the characters spin in the top of that building. It's like a cuckoo clock. But see that? So they also were having a railroad train layout going on. It was a big deal. And I'm not like a big fan of railroads, model railroads. They're nice. I like them, but I'm a big fan of the miniature stuff that comes with railroads. So that I really like. See the little orange tree and the apple trees and the little miniature figures in the street. That, I have like the number one website for dioramas and stuff like that. And I really love it. So that aspect of model railroading I really love, because they were the forefront of all kinds of landscaping techniques and ideas and how to do landscapes and stuff like that. I have all this stuff on my website if you want to go look and do some miniature stuff. Woodland Scenics makes a lot of stuff that's wonderful for diorama makers and for railroaders. So that it was fun to see that. And one thing I um, kind of struck me here is that they have this little crane with a magnet on it, and you can pick up nuts out of the truck and then load them in the train. And I thought to myself, the beautiful thing about this is the interactivity. So at some point, I should make myself a diorama that has some kind of an interactive level to it, where people can look at the diorama and interact with it some way or another. I don't know how. If you have ideas for that, let me know. Leave a comment. Let me know how you think would be a great way to interact with a diorama. Just like I'm interacting here, that's me operating that little crane. So that's it. So this is episode 19, Michigan, and of visiting all of America, all 48 continental states. And here's a little bit of footage to give you a taste of more stuff to come. Is a little town called Marysville, Utah. Population 400, and you're driving through the desert, and you just in Utah, and you kind of dip into this little valley, and you're in Marysville, and at 400 people, and then a minute later you're out of it. But Marysville was very famous a long time ago. It was like the end of the railroad, where the railroad ended, and there was a lot. It was like a gold town, like a miner town, and it was very popular way back when. And even Butch Cassidy stayed here at the inn. It's like a big deal. So that's it. I just thought you'd like to see this. If you're interested in travel or in America, stay tuned to this series. I've got 19 videos in it so far, and I'm doing all 48 states, and I got some surprises for you in terms of traveling and visiting America. Thanks for watching. See, now here you go. Now we're leaving Marysville, and isn't that great? I love it. Let me think. Oh yeah, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell so you're notified when my video is posted.